Hi everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and I want to talk today about things to not do when setting boundaries with narcissistic parents. Do not expect immediate acceptance. Narcissistic parents thrive on control, and boundaries threaten that control, expecting them to immediately understand or respect your boundaries can set you up for a big disappointment. They are likely to resist or test your limits or never even accept your limits. Things to not do when setting boundaries with narcissistic parents. Do not over-explain or justify your boundaries. The least said is usually the better. Early on in my life, tried to set boundaries. I felt I needed to explain and give the reasons and try to convince, even just to set the boundary. To set the boundary, you just need to set the boundary. It really doesn't matter what the reasons are. You don't have to give reasons for that. This is just what I prefer. I'm not saying you're bad, or I'm not saying anybody else. This is what I want. This is what I need. I don't need to say more. Explaining your reasons in detail gives them more room to argue, manipulate, or invalidate your feelings. Simply state your boundaries firmly and without justification. Long explanations can be twisted against you. Do not argue or defend yourself. Engaging in arguments will often lead nowhere and could result in gaslighting or blame shifting. Narcissistic parents may try to provoke emotional reactions to pull you back into their control. Stay calm and avoid escalating the situation. Do not expect them to change. Many times, adult children of narcissists will go in thinking, if I just state my boundary clearly, my parents will change. If they do, marvelous. I'm happy if anybody changes with your, but I think it's better to set your boundaries based on them not changing, not based on them changing. Narcissistic parents rarely change, especially when confronted with boundaries. Expecting them to reflect and alter their behavior can lead to disappointment and frustration. Set your boundaries for your well-being, not with the goal of changing them. And I believe that's very critical. Set your boundaries for your well-being, not with the goal of changing them. Do not engage in emotional reactions. Narcissistic parents often want to provoke emotional responses to regain control or attention. Stay composed, and things like showing frustration, anger, sadness just gives them power. Respond with calmness and detachment, even indifference, to avoid feeding their need for drama. Don't and do not apologize for setting boundaries. Apologizing weakens the boundary and gives the narcissistic parent leverage. You have the right to set the boundaries for your mental health and well-being. There's no need to feel guilty for protecting yourself. And if you start with an apology, then that already cues them that you're running down the guilt road, and they'll take you right on down the guilt road or insecure road. Do not back down or be inconsistent. Inconsistent boundaries can confuse narcissistic parents and invite them to push further. If they see you waver, they will likely test your boundaries repeatedly. Be firm and consistent in enforcing them, no matter how difficult it may feel. And again, if we are inconsistent, they will use and take every advantage as a result of that inconsistency. And then you'll kind of go, well, I was inconsistent, so maybe I should need to be more lenient. Or no, your boundaries are your boundaries. Do not get sucked into guilt trips. Narcissistic parents often use guilt as a manipulation tool, especially when boundaries are set. They may say things like, "After all I've done for you, you're abandoning me?" Don't let guilt manipulate you into compromising your boundaries. If you've thought them through up here, your boundaries, don't let the system's feelings down here compromise your boundary work. If you've done the processing up here, then if you need to shut this down or ignore this while you're setting the boundary, that is a good practice. Do not overreact to their attempts to sabotage. When narcissistic parents feel their control slipping, they may retaliate through smear campaigns, spreading lies, causing drama. Avoid overreacting to these tactics. Stay focused on your boundaries and refrain from trying to defend yourself to others. Someone comes to you and says, "Oh, let me tell you what your mother told me. I don't know why you're being so mean." Really? Didn't know I was being mean. That's interesting. I haven't heard from her about me being mean. Maybe, you might want to consider the source. I hope you have a great day. You don't want to get sucked into the smear campaigns. Do not expect empathy or understanding. Narcissistic parents typically lack empathy and may not be able to truly understand your needs or feelings. Don't expect emotional support or compassion from them when you set boundaries. They are more likely to focus on how your boundaries affect them. So they're going to be all busy with how it's going to affect them. They're not going to be worried about empathy and understanding for you. Do not use the same manipulative tactics that they use. Fighting manipulation with manipulation is tempting but counterproductive. Engaging in similar behaviors like guilt tripping or passive aggressiveness will only escalate the conflict and fuel the narcissist's need for control. Do not neglect self-care. Setting boundaries with narcissistic parents can be emotionally draining, so don't forget to take care of yourself. Neglecting self-care will leave you vulnerable to their manipulation and to their manipulative tactics. Surround yourself with supportive people and take time to recharge. For example, if you were going to set a boundary with a parent, you could do that on a Friday, plan a weekend getaway, and go with friends or your spouse or your family. Go with them so you can kind of recharge and be kind of protected rather than just worrying all weekend, what are mom and dad thinking about? What's their concerns going to be about? And what retaliation are they going to have? Take care of you and focus on you and your own good life, not their toxic life. Do not expect closure or validation. Narcissistic parents rarely provide the closure or validation you may seek. Expecting them to acknowledge your pain or take responsibility for their actions can keep you stuck in a cycle of unmet expectations. Accept that you may never get the closure you deserve and focus on healing yourself. In addition, we can talk about you never get the justice you deserve. If we let go of that, they're less likely to control us with the hope and fantasy of having justice happen at some point. Do not compromise on your boundaries to keep the peace. Compromising your boundaries to avoid conflict or maintain a semblance of peace is often a short-term fix. In the long run, it can lead to resentment, frustration, and exhaustion. Stand firm in your limits, even if that means facing pushback, but don't plan on keeping the peace. You keep your peace, let them be unpeaceful, rather than let me keep the peace for both of us. No, you keep the peace for you. They will be unpeaceful. Let them deal with their unpeacefulness. So, what are some self differentiation tips I might give you about setting boundaries? Focus first on inner boundaries. And inner boundaries are learning more indifference, learning more detachment, and how important that is for maintaining external boundaries. I want to work on it not mattering so much to me what they feel about my boundaries. I want to work on reducing that mattering to me. In addition, expect pushback. They're not going to go, oh, yes, we're so sorry. We don't know why we've done that. We'll never violate that boundary again. Most times that doesn't happen. If it does happen, it probably won't last. So expect pushback from narcissistic parents. Be a broken record. If you're on the phone, if you're having a visit, if you set boundaries for the frequency of communication, say, oh, well, it's Tuesday. Well, I said I wanted to talk once a week on Friday. So let's talk on Friday. Well, I just wanted to hear your voice. We'll talk on Friday. And you can hear my voice then. So we'll talk on Friday. Broken record. We'll talk on Friday. We'll talk on Friday. No, we're not coming this weekend. No, we're not coming to that dinner this weekend. No, I think I had said we're not coming for dinner this weekend. Broken record, broken record. Ask yourself, what are the downsides of you setting and maintaining solid boundaries? If you did that, what are the fears? What are the unexpected consequences that may be holding you back from setting those boundaries? I hope you'll click below for the training, the free training. Doesn't cost you anything. 84 minutes. Enjoy. I also have an online program that you would find very valuable and helpful. I hope you'll like this video. Please subscribe to this channel. Comment on this video. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day and be wise.